It's Jeff's birthday, so I think I would say happy birthday, but maybe just well on Jeff, happy birthday.
Yeah, it's in my birthday today. I thought I got called out. I bumped into Laura and she said things about it. The next thing I said, it's my birthday. Shouldn't have said that, should I?
Yeah.
It is my birthday, and I make you through. I was thinking about tonight, what's Saturday getting? Now, we're desperate for rain on. Those of you who are farmers and contacted the farming community know how difficult things are. And I thought, well, I wouldn't mind looking at the other side of that. When it rains so much, when there's a story of Noah's flood, and it rained for 40 days, how would we cope with 40 days of rain? We might have had it over the year, but it's difficult to cope with, isn't it? Yep. And I thought, well, what about how long was that rain raining? Well, it said 40 days and 40 nights. Oh, that's all right. But how long did the rain remain on the earth? Well, read a few verses on it again. 150 days, for half a year before it went down, and eventually they could go back onto dry land. I don't want to discuss the detail of why it happened and all that sort of thing, but just let's be grateful for our sunshine that we have. But remember, we do need the rain. I remember about a week ago on local ITV News, they said, oh, yes, and by the way, on Chibina last night, they had 2 millimeters of rain. You're thinking, let's think about the situation we're in. Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, we thank you that most things that we know about in our lives, we see recorded somewhere or another in the Bible. The circumstances of people's lives, the situation on the earth, the good times and the bad times. And we thank you, Lord, that you request us to talk to you about the things that concern us. Lord, we pray tonight for our town and the places that you placed us in to serve the community. And we particularly think of farmers having difficult times, looking after their stock, feeding their stock and watering most difficult. Lord, we thank you that you know us, you know our circumstances and the people that we seek to serve on this council. Help us with your guidance to be wise people sharing good things with our community. Help us, Lord, to stand up for our community when we think something is wrong and we can do something about it. Lord, we thank you for tonight, for serving together and for the joy of serving with other people that know and love Ilfracombe and its area. And we thank you for that in all our prayers in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Jeff. Right, item 2, to receive and consider approval of apologies and reason trust.
We've had apology from councillors Crabbe, Owen and Jennison.
Over. Any declarations of interest? Nope. Chair's discretion, anything for chair's discretion?
I think there's one item that you were emailed about earlier today.
Yeah.
From me.
I've got 2 last in.
Public participation. You've changed seats, so I'll let you go first if you like.
I'd like to understand, sometimes hear about environmental need for the town council to, or councillors to set aside their political beliefs in the name of the town and its benefits and so forth. So I'd like to just understand if the town council has a view or a stance or policy on any private property being developed and let rented to people that may or may not have ever featured on the social housing list for this area.
Anybody got any views on that?
I can respond from what the general, how we're considered as a town council. We are statutory consultees in any planning application, as you well know. We have little power, but it is considered, but that's as far as it goes. So unless something is brought directly to us through the planning application process, we're not consulted in any other way other than that. So
You don't have an agreement or policy between you.
no, we
Respect for the members of the town or the residents.
unfortunately, within the powers and duties that we have as a town council, we don't have anything to do with housing. So that falls directly to North Devon District Council. If there is a particular agenda that needs to be brought to the councillors and there is a view amongst councillors and they vote on something to be done, that's when we would potentially get involved. But without knowing exactly what you're referring to, which situation it is, you would need to bring that and table that with your specific councillors in your wards. They can always bring it to council and bring it up for discussion, and we would go from there. But there's no general political view that can be decided by any one single councillor on their own in any capacity as a voice for the council. It would have to be done in this meeting and a majority vote. So, okay.
Norman?
Well, I've already had explained. I'm more than one colleagues. Because we are now looking at a town culture, which is a great thing. And what I would like to say is that places in this town, some look very good, but when you come into this town, it's what I don't like. And I'm going to mention it again. It's and I'm going to go on. If you look into it, it's the ordinance of Middletown. Will it stay like that for a long time, or is there Indian people going to get on and do it or something like that? And so we got the other one with Jordan. Middletown. That's another thing up too, right beside each other. So it doesn't look good. Anybody incoming to the town sees empty buildings.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and you have raised it before. It gets raised at every Ilfracombe Regeneration Board meeting because we have the head of planning at that meeting. Again, unfortunately, our powers are limited on what we can enforce and what we can do. But we have, and we do appeal to that planning officer and to North Devon District Council as a whole on a regular basis about these buildings. And it's not just those two, it's any derelict building around Ilfracombe. I think you've mentioned a couple previously. They are on a constant list, and Neil, one of our officers, is in communications all the time. But I don't unfortunately have an update for you as at the moment on those two. But they had, I think the last on the Osborne was that planning enforcement had been out, but they needed to go out a second time. So that's in the process of happening. Bless you.
Can I? There's something I just asked my friend here. Because all this reorganisation throughout the country, of like in Devon in particular, is there going to be a post like development?
A town council, yes. So within the government reorganisation, town and parish councils aren't affected. They will stay in as they are. The only change that will happen is that your county council and your district councils are merging. As we now know, the model is now the Greater Plymouth, Exeter, Torbay and everybody else, which is Devon Council. So, but as town and parish councils, yes, we stay. We don't go anywhere. Yeah, you get to keep coming and visiting us every first Monday of the month, second Monday of the month.
Okay.
Thank you, Lauren.
Fabulous.
That's okay.
Thanks, Laura. Moving on to item 6, Any item in the agenda should be taken with the public excluded, i.e. part B. Yeah, and then-
None that I am aware of.
Right, next, item 7 to adopt the minutes of the full council meeting held on the 13th of July. Are there any matters arising or actions arising from said minutes before we propose it?
No, solar panels are just waiting to be repaired. I think there's a couple of bits that will be brought up further on as part of our correspondence. But no other particular actions at the moment.
That, I will propose that we adopt the minutes. Can I get a second down? All in favour? Anybody against? Abstentions? No, good, passed. Like to make my minutes. Starting meeting. There are no recommendations to approve, or no, the minutes have been circulated. The other thing I will say is that we are now re-advertising for a facilities officer again, and hopefully that'll bear some more fruit than last time. Any questions for staffing? Right, item 9, minutes of the planning committee meeting. Good.
Thank you very much. Obviously, you've all read the minutes of the planning committee meeting held on the 20th of July, seems a long time ago. It was quite a long agenda, which is unusual for this time of year. There was no items of anything that should be noted or anything like that, so unless the members have got any questions for us, for these three notes. Thanks very much.
Could we update about the Devon Resort Manor House building? I've got an update, which is
I think just raise that possibly as the chair's discretion, because it wasn't part of the actual, as far as I'm aware, it's not part of the actual planning minutes. So we can raise it as the chair's discretion, because I think an update would be prudent.
I was saying it was actually.
But was it? Then my apologies, sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, then,
Actually,
oh, I've missed it.
Sorry.
I've not turned. Oh, yes,
Good running.
sorry.
Sorry, Laura.
That's all right. I hadn't turned the page. So, yeah.
yeah. So building control weren't interested basically because it doesn't fall within the region of where it affects the public highway, so they have the powers to enforce the building being made safe. But the fire, Ilfracombe Fire Chief, well, the police chief, I believe, and then to meet the owners on site. So they have made recommendations, but my understanding is that they're looking to develop the site anyway, so possibly demolish that building. However, in the meantime, I drive past it tonight and it doesn't look safe to me. So they've re-erected barriers. No remedial works have gone on with the windows, etc. But I'm hoping to follow that up with the fire chief.
As I say, like Laura said before, it was discussed at the IRB as an ongoing site. Matt was obviously aware of it, and he told us that he was in correspondence with the owner. And that's all I can comment further on that, but I appreciate your concern. Like you, I kind of sit on numerous occasions in the week, and it is correctly, as you say, not a very safe looking site. But again, I'm no expert on that aspect, so obviously it would be unfair of me to get that recording, but as I say.
Just to add on it's very much what you said. I spoke to the owner, the managers of the Devon Resorts. Actually, have also and they said it's complex ownership issue. The owner, the ultimate owner, is aware that it's boarded up and has been told it's boarded up. But the resorts themselves are not in a direct position to really tell him what to do in their landlord. And like you said, the bicycle officer visited the site. It's a risk.
Anything else for councillor Williams?
So can I have this noted, please, a minutes, but I'm proposing a second that.
You don't need to.
Oh, no, that, I don't think I do.
No, not at this meeting, it's just a note.
Yeah. So moving on to item 10, FMGP meeting. Bye-bye.
So that's the report. Mentions that there's no particular consensus at the meeting. I don't think there's any follow-up items,
Not at this point.
so I must be ready.
Thank you, Trevor.
Sorry, I missed them.
Okay.
Is this recommendations to approve them?
No,
Yeah, no, that's.
no, there's no recommendations to approve. That's okay. No, not on this occasion. There will be recommendations, but not just yet.
Moving on, item 11, a profit officer report.
Okay, it's been a busy month. So local government reorganisation, I've kind of given you an overview on exactly how that is and what's happening following the parish forum meeting that I had on the 30th of July. I've also circulated the slides and the actual recording of the meeting. So please, if you can spend some time trying to have a look at that. If you've got issues opening it, just let me know because I'm not aware of it. I haven't tried myself, I'll be honest. But the general overview is obviously the LGR, the decision's happened, it's happening. Even if there is varying things being raised about judiciary reviews, the general consensus is that we still have to get on with it because it's a very short period of time. So the Chief Executive of the North Devon Council is very heavily involved with the implementation team, as is the head of place at North Devon District Council. Some other staff will eventually have to be involved, so I've asked for clear communications as to who they are and how they're going to be involved, so that we're not putting pressure on expecting things from them that they can't necessarily meet. So I'll wait to hear with that. We will be given, Devon Council will have 103 councillors overall. That will give roughly one councillor per 3,500 electors, which means that where we currently sit, where we have 5 district councillors and 1 Devon County councillor, we will now only likely potentially have 3 or 4 councillors to represent Ilfracombe. But that's not 100% set in stone. The next big phase that they've got to do is they've got to put through the warding patterns for the new authority. They've got to be submitted by, I think, next week, which is not a huge amount of time for them to do that. It's temporary, it won't be forever. They will have a boundary review back in after vesting day, post 2028, where the Boundaries Commission will come in and do that. But that warding pattern will then decide which councillors will be in which areas prior to the election in May. Obviously, Shadow Authority will be voted in May and things will happen. We don't know what, but we will see how it goes. It won't affect us very much straight away, I don't think, other than maybe losing officers. So hopefully that's some good news. The flip side of that, the work that we're trying to do with clustering, there's an event on the 30th of September, which is chairs and clerks only. I think I've mentioned this previously, and it'll just be here. We've got 1 in Barnstaple, 1 in Linton Lynmouth, 1 in Braunton, 1 South Molton still haven't quite come to the table, so I don't think it'll be there. It's very likely going to be Cholmondeley. So we've gone with the bigger towns and we're hoping that we'll cluster with the parishes close around us. So we'll see how that goes. So the next item I've got is the PCC meeting that typically happened on exactly the same evening, which Neil attended. I have spoken to Sergeant Joey Lester about it. She was unfortunately on sick leave at the time, so wasn't able to attend. I don't know what, obviously I've got some idea of what happened on the evening. I would welcome, I've had some feedback from you all, but this is my last ditch attempt to just make sure if anyone's got any feedback, can I have it by Wednesday, please? Because I'd like to collate that so that we can try and send it to the PCC And so the IBTA, so obviously because they hosted the event to try and give our views on how it went. But on the back of that, Joey has requested that she comes to a meeting on the next full council meeting and speaks to all of you. So she'll be doing that on the 14th of September at 6 p.m. So we'll try and do it for a maximum 45-minute meeting before full council. So it won't be a public meeting. It will only be an address to councillors. So if you've got any questions, please, can I ask that you actually send them to me first? So she's got a bit of a grounding force, you can actually answer them rather than just guessing what you're going to ask. So that's that. Local plan consultation, right, this is where I need your first decision if possible, please. So I've circulated the local plan consultation. This was raised at the parish forum meeting as well. As you'll see from their timeline, it's a very short amount of time that they have got to put a local plan in place. The last local plan that Torridge and North Devon District Council did took 7 years, I think, if I'm not mistaken. They've got 1.5 years, I think, possibly 30 months to get this done. So it's one of 3 consultations. The other 2 we will obviously formulate and circulate. We as a statutory consultee have to put a response in. I've put a draft response. I'm hoping I've done it from all of the 4 people who responded. Yeah, well, so I've kind of taken the responses from those 4 people, put it all together, and hopefully if you are happy with it, it was in the combined papers, I need that to be approved so that I can put that through first thing tomorrow morning, because the consultation ends tomorrow.
Brilliant.
That was very good, Laura.
Thank you. I think the 4 responses I had were very good. So I had a good starting block.
What happens when the new regime take over and they turn around and say, oh no, we're going to do another one? So, I mean, it just seems to me that they're making work for themselves.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
It's not necessary.
This is not a decision that North Devon Council or Torridge District Council have any control over. This is government have said
Okay.
business as usual. So it will continue no matter what. So I would imagine that what will happen is the local plan will go in place, it'll be formulated, it will stay in place for a number of years before it gets reviewed again. But that will be down to government.
There was.
Just going back to LGR, I just got a comment and a question maybe. One is just in case I've noticed when it comes to the number of councillors resident that if you look at the other unitaries, especially Exeter, they have many fewer residents, quite considerably fewer, 2,400. So that's a bit of a run on disappointment. So I don't think it can be changed, as we're saying, but if we're going to be really fair about it, I think we would reduce some of the numbers. The council in the next potentially I'm going to provide you and give them more. That's just a comment. The other thing is I've been given so tomorrow to feedback any equality impact assessment stuff around like the warding arrangements. So we obviously don't know what it's going to be. So it's a little bit like, a guess, basically. But obviously, if we thought, as an example, there's no point, I could just name but if anyone's got any feelings about whether they think that using 4 councillors or 3 councillors will have a negative effect on democracy in councillors, then let me know. Of course, tomorrow, so I can read it back to the government. Because in theory, when we make major changes like this, you should do a full quality impact assessment, but there's no time to do it. So they're doing a quick sort of, rough and dirty one where they just say what and think. It might actually improve access to councillors because we're going to be having 4 councillors, but then on the other hand, the total number of councillors that are going down. So if anyone's got any real concerns, particularly also we've got like one building, would they be affected by these boundaries, by the introduction of a different ward? And please let me know that it has to be by tomorrow morning.
Right, yeah, who's there?
Yeah, I think it's quite a lot to unpack in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
My suggestion would be that councillors email you. I think councillors have got their own personal view. I don't think we can't ask the council as a whole to make a comment, because that's not enough time for us to give you that view. But I think there's enough councillors with enough experience here that can put those words together. And I'll reach out, because obviously I'm conscious Councillor Crabbe isn't here, but I know that he would very likely have similar comments to what I think everyone else will have on that.
You have a hand up, John, earlier? No.
Is the LGR working group still running? Will it
Yeah.
stop with it pick up?
It was, yeah, I think the thing with the devolution LGR group is because nothing's kind of affecting us at the moment. We don't need to give any consultation, we don't need to give any responses, but yeah, it will pick up again once things start happening, I'm sure.
Okay.
Anyway,
Is
so
that the item you want to
yes,
propose
please,
for
if I
your,
can. In connection with the local plan, so
Yeah.
if everybody's happy with the response for the local plan, can I get it approved,
Oh.
please?
So who is it? Can I get a second? One, all in favour? Against? Abstention?
Okay, thank you very much. Right, I'll keep going on my report, so no idea if my papers are in order now. I had a meeting with the libraries and Libraries Unlimited, just to let you know. Oh no, I've missed an entire section, sorry. Right, this is why we need to change some page numbers, I can't read them. Right, so the next thing we had was the facilities team vehicle. It was agreed at F&GP with regards to the settlement figure. I need to get a spend total from the council, if possible, please, because it is something I'm going to have to start moving on. We got just over £8,000 settlement figure from the insurance company. The facilities team have given 3 particular examples, just to give you an idea of what they're looking at. The reason that they've changed the spec of vehicle from what Rob was driving to what they're currently driving and needing a tail lift is because you as a council very kindly have invested in the team and the equipment that they now need to carry is slightly heavier and bigger and a lot more bulky than it was a year ago. So that is why they've asked for that. So
We got the average cost that they.
the three that they've sent through, I'll just here quickly. So these, I mean, to be fair, these are not exact ones. It's not as if you're going to pick one and it's going to be available still, because they go really quickly, but this is why I have to spend. That's 8,400. That one's 99, and I think that one's just over 10. So you're looking round about the 10,000.
The last one, if I remember straight, one was about 10.5.
Yeah, just over 10, yeah.
So inflation, I would say maximum 12, possibly.
If that's your recommendation, and
Well,
you can get a open to discussion.
Okay, any advances on the flow? So it seems reasonable. We need the vehicle.
Yeah.
We'll have to spend a little bit more money and putting a cap on it. 12 sounds reasonable, but
We will obviously get best value for money that we possibly can.
yeah.
Maximum of 12, unless you see something and it's a little bit more, then come back to us. You know what it's like.
Yeah.
When the difference is obviously we've got just over 8,000 that we've got.
Yeah.
The difference, I'm happy for that to come out of the reserves for the vehicles.
I don't know what other funding you come out of, Carol.
We have got money in that fund, and there would be enough if we're going up to a maximum of 12.
Okay, well, if you recommend that, then I would say yes, let's do that.
So we need an approval.
You do, you need a seconder, please, if
I'll
that's
second that. All in favour?
up to the value of 12,000.
Anybody against? Abstentions?
Okay, sorry, going back to my libraries meeting. So I did have a brief meeting with Libraries Unlimited. it was quite an informative meeting, Libraries Unlimited with Councillor Wilson as well. It's just to start those initial conversations and build those relationships, because I'd imagine that things will change with the unitary councils. So we just want to make sure that they understand that we are supportive and that we would like to try and help where we can. Nothing's been committed, no numbers have been flown around. We're not expecting anyone, we're not taking it over or anything like that, but just starting those conversations. Next item, which does need approval, is the Royal Mail postal locker. We met with the owner of the wall, because obviously we own Ropery Road car park, but the wall that the boards are on is not ours. We've met with the owner, he's perfectly happy with the suggestion that we've got, but we just need that final approval. It's not going to cost us particularly much. Hopefully it can bring us in a little bit of income, not huge, but some. So
My biggest concern is people come in and just abandon their car in the middle of the car park and fiddling around in the locker, and blocking everything up. That's
it's the risk that you have at Tesco's or Lidl's as well, but most people don't tend to do it because they will be blocking people in.
These posted lockers like the ones that live in them.
Yes, so yeah, so what it is it's instead of it being in posters, it is at those two. This is a Royal Mail one, and I think this would hopefully alleviate some of the Royal Mail parcel delivery issues that we seem to be getting more and more of. I think this is just a bit of an easier access, that your parcels get delivered there and you pick them up from there. And hopefully people park and go for a stroll and a coffee down the seafront.
is the next stage, then if they'll stop delivering full stop.
I cannot guarantee you, I do not have any say, and potentially, I don't know, potentially.
Because we seem to get it once a week now anyway.
And in fairness, I still rate InPost or any lockers over deliveries, because
Well, they're apparently meant to go to these once a day, so.
might make things quicker.
Yeah.
Progress, but progress. Not a really.
So if I can get a vote on it, please.
Proposer for that? Seconder? In favour? Brilliant. Abstentions? No, we're good.
Okay, I'll just keep going. And the last thing on mine is just to put this out there, I'm not asking for any votes. I'm just putting it as a consideration, and I will bring it back once we've had a little bit more thoughts and when it comes to doing the calendars. I'd like to move your council meetings in general around. They'll still stay on Mondays, but they might move around in the month. I'm finding that I'm getting some comments about how long full council meetings take, which I appreciate. The theory and the idea is that your committees are meant to make those recommendations. They're meant to be the body that makes the decisions for recommendation at full council. So really, this should be a tick box exercise. But the problem you have is between staffing on the first Monday and the next full council could potentially be between 3 to 4 weeks, sometimes 5 if you've got a long month. So we're losing that, and you're having quite a big gap between your last meeting and your next meetings for full council. So that's why this meeting ends up becoming bigger and bulkier than it necessarily needs to be. So that would be my recommendation. As I said, I will bring that to the meeting when we decide the calendar for the next year, but so it's not set in stone. I'm also wanting to consider, and I will bring this up at committee meetings, as to what the remit is for each committee. I think that there's scope to widen what each committee does. I think that there's, for instance, planning and environment includes the word environment, but we only ever deal with planning. Finance and general purposes. I'm not sure general purposes necessarily needs to fit in there, but I think I'd like to see a much more strategic overview with regard to finances and how the council runs in that committee. So there's just room that is up for discussion. So I just want to lay the foundations of what I'm hoping to propose later on. Okay. Other than that, then you've got the report from Pat in regards to Lee and Lincoln. So unless there's any questions, I am done.
Thank you, Laura. Any more questions for Laura? No, good. Thank you. Item 12, RFO report, going on, Carol.
So you've got the report, this anyway. Just to let you know, in terms of the accounts, our business account is starting at 605.75. Currently, our preset for the second half of preset is due next month, so we've got a good and the commercial core account continues to rise by about £11 a month, and that's now at 27,097. The CCLA, following all those transfers for the end of the financial year, we now have in our working account £227,230. For the specified reserve, we've got 450,066. That does include the amount that was put by for the doors for the toilets, which we were going to put into a different account, but we're waiting and see how quickly we get done now because we're already getting quite soon. So that's the main accounts anyway. In terms of the invoices, you've got a whole list there as the addendum of all the invoices that have come in so far this for August. The two at the bottom of the first page, the South West Water, which is the ITC store, which was thought to be the Superloop, and our office. Those two were direct debits. I've stopped the direct debits because I'm still waiting for the South West Water's decision. They have agreed that we have only one supply, not two. I'm waiting to find out whether they're going to put something back really for the years that they've been charging us to do when there was only one. And they may try and take these two, but I have stopped the debits, so they'll have to come to me direct, and I'm better giving them. Keep asking what's happening next. So I'm sure they will be in contact very soon when they finally find out the money on this. So just to let you know that those two amounts, although they're there, I may not have to pay them at all, and hopefully I'll get something right. Is there any questions on any of the others?
What's that?
That's the legal complaint. That's Nathan Townsend.
It's opposed to the other page.
Yeah, that the Nathan Townsend one's been having on for Rods. He's doing the grass cutting.
Can I ask why Lee looks so high? Was that one we were supplying to the builders and we got charging?
Well, yes, it's a 3-month bill.
Yeah.
So yes, it's partly that.
So that all of that, we didn't use all of that.
No. We've
Yeah.
got some of that money back already. So, and we're waiting, I'm waiting for Gavin to check the loo at Lee, because we are now going to be cross-charging the National Trust, and they're not happy with the amount that we've done. We've done it based on the readings. So, and they're not happy. They think the charging is too much and that the readings seem to be very high. However, they have been working, but Gavin's going to check that we haven't got a hidden leak somewhere first.
With all the
So
work.
he's going down there. And their tap is not closed off or anything, so you'd be surprised if people are washing their feet and they're serving stuff under their tap. Well, that's not my problem, that's theirs. So we'll wait and see what Gavin comes back with, but we are going to be cross-charging them as well for the water they're using for their building project. Any others that he's wants to ask about? I just need somebody there to propose on the second.
All in favour? Any against? Abstentions?
I'll get those all sorted out.
Thank you, Carol.
Just a couple of things that I was going to raise as first discussion, but I can raise them very quickly. Concord Limited, who provide our photocopying contract, they've gone to the new Harvest direct debit system. We've already got a direct debit system with them. However, we need to sign up to the new system. So I've done that on your behalf. It's no different to what we've been doing before, it's under a different system. The second thing is that we sent the maintenance contract for the door at the front, you know, the company door at the front of this office. I've spoken to Gavin about this as well, because we were on 5-star cover, which covered a service visit and any call outs. However, we've never had any call outs on that door ever. And Gavin was under the view that if we did need to call out on the door, it would probably be a complete replacement door, so they wouldn't do that anyway. So the 5-star cover comes in at £677 a year. The three-star cover comes in at £275 a year. So, and that still gives us the annual service. And they will still come out if we warm out at a reduced rate, but we will pay for them second. As we've never ever had a call out from that door, I think it's highly unlikely unless we can think it breaks down.
I think we need to look at the two contracts, so that can be brought up at FGP.
Yes, but because this is chair's discretion, I will bring it to FGP.
I know they're okay, I know.
It's just so that you're aware that we're looking at the two quotes. And Agar carries on. I've had a few questions. I've answered most of them. I'm waiting on some information from Paul to send to them, but he also has their number now. So I haven't heard from him this afternoon. I'm wondering whether he's actually spoken to him this afternoon, which is why it's been a bit quiet. So fingers crossed. September, we should have the A-class.
Lovely. Thank you, Gary. Right, moving on, item 13, programme manager reports.
Well, we don't have a programme manager, unfortunately. But I think circulator's report,
Good.
there's not a huge amount. So I mean, you're very welcome to obviously speak to myself or Charmaine about anything in particular in there. One thing that isn't in the report, but I am going to mention, is a bit of work that we are looking to, provided nobody shouts at me drastically now, rebrand Pride in Ilfracombe slightly. We're looking to, it will obviously still be the same. We're looking at keeping it and calling it the Ilfracombe Community Awards. We've mentioned the word Pride in Ilfracombe a few times, and I think it's been misconstrued on more than one occasion as being something that is revolved around LGBTQ. And that is something that we obviously do want to look at from a community perspective, but the connotation of that word unfortunately has changed as time's gone on. So we're going to look to change it to the Ilfracombe Community Award, still be the same premise, still be the same prestigious bit, just slightly different wording. So unless anyone's got any major objections to that. Wonderful, because the nominations need to go out soon. So if is there any questions with regards to Steve's reports, or do you want an update on where we're at? Or
No,
it's
it's comprehensive to me. Yeah. Everybody's got their points on the raise, please do. Oh, good.
There we go then.
14, reports from town councillors we have together for tomorrow. What's the name?
Well, it is attached, you can read it, but just briefly, we were approached by a couple of the project officers for the Together for Tomorrow project. They are basically, their remit is, it's a 5-year national lottery funded project, looking to build on initiatives already happening at our library. So we did so much work to try and keep the library services as they were. So there's no harm in trying to, well, especially with some funding, see what else we could get done in the library for residents. Neil and I were able to sort of have pretty informal chat, but just let the guys know what already happens locally regarding things like repair cafe, food pantry, that sort of thing. The programme supports the Devon Carbon Plan, which is to do with the reducing the net zero emissions. Just lots of opportunities for people to volunteer, develop skills. Anything else with that? You can read it, it's attached.
Yeah, read it, yeah. Any questions on putting together tomorrow? That's right.
What's the next step?
The next step is simply that we're going to keep in touch with the two representatives that came and had a chat with us. They did also go and meet with the library on the day, so it's just about sort of getting together the groups in town who are already involved in specifically sort of climate related actions, and just building what we've already got. So it was a fact finding issue for them, because they've got different areas, so they just need to check in, see what we've got, see what we can make better.
Oh, thank you for that. Moving on to reports from county district councillors. So, first of all, any district councillor would like to make praise out.
We've both been quiet a few weeks since last round. I'm not listening to this, so I'm saying it's there's something sorting out energy rather than doing the work. But yeah,
I'm back. It's the view.
Similar, sort of way, obviously, we have, what, recess and all this. They've got a couple of meetings later this month, but
Sorry.
obviously, more than two more.
For that, moving on to Sarah.
There is an error in there, also having the steering head time, well, I put in that there would be a cabinet agreement today on board arrangements, and that is as is happening, not actually asked for this. In fact, it's now on Friday the 14th. And the one for district hospitals is being held at exactly the same time as the one for hospitals. So, when we separate the time, it would be really good.
That's very.
Do you have any sense when conversations about LGR happening, have they got in mind where the centre would be for our unitary authority? So not going
For that, I would read them very close staff. They themselves don't want to know that it's been on the horizon yet until it's the autumn. So there's a few little things in some of these briefings that we have, such as North Devon CEO Mars is going to be the chief return officer for the whole of the legal authority for the mayor elections, which may not be interesting, it's the kind of role. No, there's no indication. So I'm not scrutiny about LGR, but our thing is about making sure that LGR is safe and legal for all the services that have got to be transferred to especially children and social care. And it's not about meeting the that's not it. There is quite a lot of disquiet that obviously the academic system, all the new unitary authorities will be cabinet, which means that you will have the authority to councillors or parliament might be, you are making, a real day-to-day quite decisions. And, this is Christmas stuff LGR, but those not in cabinet, we don't see a lot of decision making. And there's so little time to call it in. So normally you'd be able to say, if you made that decision, I'd like to call it in and we discuss it, but now it's so there's a little bit of time, but it's like it's nice to start on it. And so if you can have a demo, potentially we would be really looking into it potentially in a serious way, carried on balance.
It is, sorry, I'm just going to jump in and say there is a website that they've set up as well, so which they can always update it, which is that one. So if anyone wants to have a look directly, that's where all of the information is going
going to be put, okay, so I'll try and circulate that tomorrow.
And one of the things is the closure of maternity units. Now, there is a social care scrutiny meeting on 17th, which I'm going to substitute. So I'm going to leave a question. I haven't seen it yet. So if anybody wants to feed to me, obviously I've got questions that I want to ask. If anybody really wants to give me something, and they're burning, what they want to ask, and they're not going themselves or telling me in mind, then please to me.
So what day is that?
It's on the 17th, but I have to get to him. It's probably tomorrow. I want to do it tomorrow afternoon.
We're leaving everything to the last minute today, so.
My man will be on.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, it's going to be brought up as a report in a minute, so maternity services, so.
Times.
So the information.
Is there anything else for Sarah?
Good evening, but I have the event from Danny solutions to complex system.
Take care. Okay, moving on to item 16, working groups and councillor champions. We have 2 reports from councillor Elliott. I know someone requires a vote proposal, so I'll let you outline that.
So the first one is, my strategy is to visit as many groups, and health opportunities as possible, in Ilfracombe and report back in just what we've got going on here to meet the health and wellbeing needs of our population, and what they're providing and how we might be able to support them. So you've read my report about Games Galore. It's not essentially a games group. What it is a wonderful opportunity to combat isolation and to connect people with the various reasons of finding networking and opportunities more limited, whether it's for health reasons, mental or physical, or just because of the trauma. And it really is wonderful, and it's a really enlightening experience to go there and play games and talk to people and hear their stories and why it's so important. It is held in a Ilfracombe Town Council facility. It's downstairs in the lantern. I've always wanted to push that as a town council, that part of our remit is being able to support opportunities that provide for our residents, especially with such high levels of health inequality in the town. And my way has always been to advocate that we don't charge a fee for people to rent rooms, or that we charge a very low fee. That has been rebuffed in the past. I haven't made a proposal here, but I really think there's something like this where they are struggling to cover the costs of hiring that room. And it's so essential that it's something we need to think about. I know we do a subsidised rate for charities, but it puts extra pressure on the group having to organise fundraising activities. I know we support a small amount in our grant making capacity, but it's something to think about for the future, I think. And there aren't that many groups, but I think it's really important. It's a group and an activity is doing so much good, and it's preventative. In the long term, it costs more not to provide something like this, that we really think again about how we support health and wellbeing groups like this.
Thank you.
What sort of games do we play?
Any board game, yeah, that we've been doing cards and chess, and different, like playing different games, but they're all obviously group-based, small and larger groups. But what was really nice is to see the friendships that develop. Now, because it's sustained and it's every week, those friendships become really important. And for some older people who are struggling cognitively. Going and playing games involving numbers and letters is really important.
Sarah,
Still, you what, so it's like this last year, and I just thought it was wonderful, and I didn't actually know anything about that group. And some people really struggle to get out, And I struggle with their confidence, to go in their lives, and just don't belong to that group, it's everyone they manage, you know, they're actually getting more. So I would know, you know, whether we should really make sure that we carries on, if we get some students. Obviously, I think that's not suggesting anything, but in, you know, my goodwill is there as well, and just think it's like this. There's so many groups that are doing that, going on to visit.
any other questions on the health champion report?
You know, how much they're paying for it at the moment?
So they're paying charity rate, I will be able to tell you.
I think it's £18 an hour, the discount rate. It's usually 25, I think. So, which
But they do have the remit to apply for funding, through the grant funding, and I believe they do apply for some, but maybe they should be applying for that annual amount,
Yeah.
like other groups do, and things like the road to comfort.
They were, person who runs it has always wanted to keep it at a low rate to make sure that it's not a barrier for affordability. It's so important, but it means that some weeks there's less people, it doesn't cover the costs. More busy week at road. It's like to be less.
To tell you, if people were taking part, do they have to pay?
£2.50, to cover the costs of the room and impressions, but it doesn't.
No, is it once a week?
So, anything under maternity services?
Oh, gosh, where do I begin on this? It's,
We've read it, it's a
Yeah.
good letter, but you've got to propose it at the end of it.
I mean, it affects us all. We're all, you know, we're all partners, have children, we like to birth, etc. We're all ourselves, yes. I mean, it's life, it's the most important thing. This decision, whilst I understand the difficulties that the trust have faced, seems unbelievable to me. I can certainly say that 4 of my children would not have been able to extra very quick births with 4 of mine. And my first child, I was sent home, so I wasn't fine for Barson Labour, I got straight home and had to go back in. That's just not going to happen if it's Exeter.
They're even asking women to pay for hotel costs if they can't. There is going to be division.
So I heard from the governor who was in the recent meeting, not the board meeting, but the emergency meeting, that to mitigate that people will be given taxi vouchers. So if we're looking just at Ilfracombe, I can tell you getting a taxi is very difficult at the moment. It's not pre-booked and babies don't come in exact time, etc. But also getting a taxi overnight is impossible. And also I feel that taxis themselves, if they rock up and somebody's in advanced labour, will not run the risk of carrying that person is the way to Exeter with the chance of person giving birth in their taxi or a complication. But there is a huge amount of fear amongst the community. And you'll have probably seen, I gave you a little update with some of the news articles which have interviewed women who are very close to giving birth and how worried they are. And issues like rising caesareans, because any complication they're liable to push people to elect for a surgical birth because of the risk. There are no home births at the moment. We have unanswered questions which I can pass to Councillor Wilson about early fetal medicine. If you don't feel the baby kicking, if start having bleeding, miscarriage. I don't think there's any answers to what happens to those women. Postnatal issues with your baby, having to take it back to hospital, but it will affect aspects of gynecology as well, because of complications after having a baby. It's huge, and we do know that it takes an hour and a half to Exeter on a good day without complications of tourist traffic. Last week there was a 5-hour stop on the 361 due to an accident. The M5 constantly has has difficulties, especially in holiday time. The back road was beset by flooding. I could go on and on and on. We've read the letter, and every day someone presents me with a new issue. So what I will say is that we have added a level of legal complexity and everything around poverty and deprivation, and there is countless evidence that poverty is linked to complications in birth, both for the mother and the child. So we need to be writing our own letter of concern as a town council, but we also I feel use it as an opportunity to write to the Secretary of State for Health and outline just what it's like to live in a remote area and not have access to the most basic service, giving birth safely in this day and age in an incredibly well-off country, to deny women the opportunity and the added anxiety this is adding on to people's experiences of birth is unbelievable. So my proposals were to draft a letter based on any other points that anyone would like to add to this. To Ian and to Secretary of State for Health, and to ourselves share the adverts for obstetricians and other maternity staff become available that they're trying to.
George had a question, then later.
I understood that the trust had said that because of staff shortages, but they said the staff services were at consultant health. Could there not be a maternity service that has fewer consultants, but can deal with emergencies rather than emergencies being dealt with?
Apparently not, so maternity scandals led to the internal trigger system within maternity units that if certain thresholds were reached, then the service is unsafe, and we have to have a senior consultant in duty for that to operate safely. So they've been using locums and they've been covering it in other ways, but that's become unsustainable.
I think when I was born, using consultants.
Well,
That's what we're doing. So really well written, letter, very supported. Only thing I will say is I would add, obviously it's meant to be a temporary closure. You have been fighting for a long period of time to the stripping of assets we have in North Devon, as you know, and again, it's yet another asset that we're losing, and it's temporarily, barely say the word, sorry, but no plan to actually reopen it. So they're temporarily closing it, but there's actually no current plan to fix it. What I think again is preposterous. How can we temporarily close service? Say we're going to reopen it with no plan. As we know, it closes 2 nights. The last baby will be born today, probably there. So it must be forthcoming as soon as possible a plan with a short time frame to reopen the maternity unit, because temporarily, for my outlook, seems like over a very, very long time without a plan, without a proposal, without a long-term solution. So I would add to your proposal, what is the plan to bring back this service to North Devon with the increased risk?
I would say to that actually these problems have been ongoing for quite a while, and that hasn't been communicated really to the public.
Yeah.
So to give such a short notice when they've known about the problems for a long time does a disservice. So they, as in the letter, they are hoping to recruit 2 junior obstetricians, but have been unsuccessful with the senior post. How they're planning that, what their planning was before that, when this was all going on, is very unclear. And in my experience with minor injuries, the healthcare trust and the ICB are not the best at communicating with the public. So that's precipitated a lot of anxiety, I think, that there were so many questions to which there weren't answers, and still coming now, yeah. So,
Councillor
I think also to think about what's happening here locally is our antenatal and postnatal care. There's no services in Ilford whatsoever. There's one weigh-in that you can attend at the library when no health history is available. It's parent led. With what's happening, we don't even have a service around expectant mothers can go primarily to the family hub and just access support and wellbeing support. So things like pregnancy yoga, holistic treatments that kind of prepare them and enable them to feel in control of what's happening to them rather than being out of control. And I think we need to look at our antenatal and postnatal services in the areas as a review and just see how we can, what we can do to kind of improve those and make them more accessible for our constituents.
I do find it unbelievable that there's been talk about health inequality and everything as fast as you're pedaling to try and improve the health inequality for people of Ilford. They are taking away huge chunks. And we're losing other things as well. But I don't know whether this is good or a bad thing, but pathology and histology will be removed and go to, unless it's emergency, pathology and histology will go to Exeter, especially built unit. Now that might be better, but it does mean we're losing a level of skill in the hospital itself. You can't keep up with it. And it will have a detrimental effect on some of the women who are now pregnant, who plan to become pregnant, or very small babies in this town. As it will elsewhere, but we have a specific consideration about the level of need within our community.
Yes.
I was just going to say quickly, what we need is a couple of ambulance-based honesty. Because you're not going to get taxis.
That's the reality will be that women have no ambulances for everything, but
There'd been the size thing, that was the advice that the midwife team gave to the mothers of
It's a great mention. That's the one that we should send to the Secretary of State for Health. In room, there's obviously on the start of the presentation with 15,000 signatures. We need to write something rather than focusing on like setting out concerns. I think those are some things that is taking action. There'd be more to get in and intervene directly with the vet input. And do everything we can to get a question taken as the comments. Just to sort of like push it a bit further. What it'd be better if we avoid just asking him, telling him about situations. But to take that place a bit further.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that letter was written by me to him, so it's just a basis. So, it's a personal experience too.
It's more ambiguous to say that, when I do works in, hematology, and I know some other people, I'm sure maybe you do, but rather it's really low on some sort of way of plan. That doesn't help implementation either, so that is a big concern. And on the ambulances, that's a massive worry for me, in that they've already indicated separately that having postcodes in the year together, their ambulances will now not go to institution anymore until they will request. So they obviously were trying to reduce the capacity of A&Es and things like. And we know that this temporary closure on maternity services isn't, especially on the others. So, yeah. The fact that we can't take two postcodes some other decision is really worrying. What's the cost of being like for the ambulances?
Just to give you a statistic, there's 310 women due to give birth in the next age 10 weeks. That's quite a lot of people, isn't it? More people are in that area. Obviously, there's a peak in September, October with births, but 310 women.
So if we look at the proposal is to write the letter, is that to take your letter or is this for town clerk to compile the feedback and that letter together?
I think we find out what people have spoken. After that.
Are you comfortable putting that together?
Yeah, that's fine. If anyone's got any further issues they want to raise, want to email it, can you do so
Yeah.
tomorrow?
We need to vote, I presume, that we
You need to agree that you're going, that's, you will.
have a proposal to write this letter with Laura's interpretation, a seconder.
Two letters.
But all in favour? Anybody against? Abstentions?
Are you in favour of pushing social media aspects as well? Because that's the third, the letters are fine. That's not from,
There's a plan happening.
okay,
It should be good to share.
I think we could do that anyway. Okay,
Need a separate approval for that? No.
I can do that under my delegated power.
Terry, so it's all excellent, but a couple of times you said Ilford. You must remember, it's not Ilford, it's the whole of North Devon, so we've got to.
I was going to say, have any of you spoken to any of the other councils in the North Devon district area out of interest?
Yes. So. All the concerns saying, but we really was in town, so we were speaking about how it affects them.
And we don't know if they've put any action in place themselves as councils. This is why clustering is good. Okay, I will get.
I think this has all been contrived. I don't think it's. This is on the cards. They're trying to get more to Exeter. I read today or yesterday somewhere, I think it was Torbay. They're doing the same down there with the department. They're moving that up to Exeter, and I think this is. Be careful what you say, but I don't think it's. Yes, it is a shortage of staff, but what's caused the shortage of staff? You know, it's all.
The consultants have, some of the recent consultants have retired.
Yeah,
There has been health, like long-term health issues with another, and then there's remaining positions. They just haven't been able to encourage consultants.
yeah, do you believe that?
I do actually believe in retirement in health conditions. I don't know whether I believe. Yeah.
I mean,
But this also affects gynecology. This isn't just maternity.
when the two hospitals were merged, we were told that services would improve. And one of the things that they said was rotating consultants and sharing resources. Well, that hasn't happened.
No.
But I understand that consultants with existing contracts in, as was in the Exeter Trust, don't have it in their contract to come to Devon, but apparently any new posts that would be written into their contract. But whether it is or not, I can't say, but we certainly haven't seen the benefit of combining with Exeter, in my opinion. I haven't seen any benefit, just the removal of more and more service.
And just as well, I know the number of midwives who have done and they've not been told anything. They're in as much in the dark as everybody else. And they're saying if they're asked to move to Exeter to work, they're going to give up being midwives because they cannot afford to travel to Exeter on the wage they get. Because Devon, particularly, is empty of the countries.
Apparently they're providing a minibus to take from staff.
But they have to get up another hour earlier to get, you know, or more. It takes even more out of their own personal time. And they're saying He doesn't do it.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not just going to
Councillor General.
Also bringing come back to the coming right of a thought on what services are fascinating on the postnatal services currently available. And how we can maybe look at ways of improving these or advocating for improvement, even if that's working in local community, like doing like local community groups or to make funding applications. So it's not necessarily coming from us, but we kind of get that mindset in place. Groups, a bit more, particularly the family part.
When I check out there, we've already got the living marketing, most of the representatives from the groups that we're talking about, so we should probably push it through.
Yeah.
One of the things, because town council is not really, it's not really our department to review the health service and everything, nor we've got enough on our table, the team, I think maybe goes to living marketing.
Well, then you do that, then.
I guess, keep the launch of it.
Yeah. You do that.
Yeah, we've done it historically when there's been potential closures where we have sent letters of support through whatever we can. I think it also ties in a lot with the futures as well, so obviously family hub are one of the three main support groups on that, so I think a conversation with that is probably a good one. They have got new funding and stuff coming through, so whether they already have plans to do more, I'm not sure, but we certainly take some find out what the longer term plans are and what can be done.
So with respect to this, are you happy, Laura, if you've got what you need?
Yep.
Yeah, just a couple of things, we're all worried about maternity services, but the staff at the hospital, right, well. They're having to realise their obstetrics appointments. Just in case. But the other point first, maybe maternity services will be stopped altogether. I don't think that's very likely because of the fact that if someone presents in the hospital really an emergency scenario, that has to be done within 15 minutes. If it's not, that's it. So obviously, we don't have time to get to bed. So I think the hospital management will be going to people to what the services otherwise we can't.
Yeah, thanks. Right, well, I think we're all very supportive that something needs to be done, so we've got all the facts. Let's move on to biodiversity. Yeah, around thereof.
Yeah, so hopefully you've all seen the policy. Let me know if you have any thoughts, if you think it needs to be changed, but if not, then it just needs to be adopted if you're all happy.
Yeah, fine, so yeah, I'll propose it. Can I get a seconder? Is one more in favour? What are you against? Abstentions? Oh, good. Item 18, correspondence licenses and notices.
Yeah, so the first one, I've circulated this already, but it has been a whole full council rota before. Since this, we've obviously since had the meeting with the PCC. I think the most of the letter is basically saying that they're replying to the letter that I wrote, that they then replied to, that then I replied to, that then they replied to, but aren't they good? Haven't they done amazing things? So I think I could probably write letters till I'm blue in the face. We're not going to get the answers that we need. That's why I'm obviously going back to you about the feedback from the 30th with the view that I'll keep pushing from that perspective as we've now made a little bit of leeway. So that was really just for information purposes.
Yeah, that can be tied into the feedback from the meeting.
Yeah.
There was a mismatch of expectation.
No, well, I'm not sure we were unclear on our expectations. I think it was just not necessarily
They
written.
were clear on the expectations.
Evident.
Okay.
Should I just keep going?
Keep going.
So the conversation was brought up last month with regards to Waltersmouth Beach and the fact that Ilfracombe Town Council was supporting the concept of trying to get it reopened as a bathing beach with the view that obviously tunnels is closed. I didn't push forward because this had been raised with Ian Rubin. I think that as he has a bit more clout than I necessarily do, he's going down that route anyway. So I've kind of tagged on the back of it and just kind of asked him to feed back to us as to exactly what information he's getting, which he has done through Frank Wiedemann, who's caseworker at the office. So that was just a letter to let you know where that is at. In connection with a response, I haven't as yet drafted one there. The resident who raised it initially has literally just responded today. So I'll have a look at what, today is in about 5 minutes ago. So I'll have a look and see what comes out of that. And I think it's just I'm just going to follow the process at the moment, see what happens before we start pushing ourselves, because I think that too many cooks might just upset somebody somewhere, but it is being raised with North Devon Council through the town team and Neil as well, so it's not being done or dealt with.
Just as an aside, I was walking past the other day, and I was like, to green stuff in the sea, like really fine green. Yes, it's seaweed, and it was actually, they were cleaning running gardens, they were cleaning the thing, and all of the duckweed. Which straight up the built in. That shows you how directly that is in.
Yeah.
So we've got an issue,
Yeah, so so that's for your information again. As I say, I will see how this progresses, and then I'll bring it back to council if we need another decision making. And then the last one is just for information about the DCC speed limit. I think the advert will be going out on the 6th of August. There is obviously a consultation kind of thing, but it's basically just reducing the speed limit from the Tesco's roundabout up to the end of Mariners Haven, where they've put the boards in, and they've put street lights, so it's going from 60 down to 30. So I don't think there's any need to necessarily shout about that, except for obviously those people that like to drive fast. Don't know any of them. So unless anyone's got any glaring objection to that, please do let me know. But wonderful, thank you. And then that's it. Chair's discretion, I think, is the last one. So, yeah. Start Carol with mine.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I think, well, I'm actually going to hand over to Sarah, because it was Sarah that's raised it. It's in connection with the pitch and putt up at Larkston, Hillsborough. I don't have any more information on that at the moment, so that's why I will defer to Sarah, who's asked for this to be raised.
I think we touched on it last.
Yeah, we did it as part of a part B, because at that point it wasn't public knowledge. Well, I was told it wasn't public knowledge. Obviously, it got out, so it is now very much public knowledge.
Some of this is kind of makes me less by these hold because it's been given notice, which is perfectly normal after however many years, it's been and then what normally happens is the review, and then the rate in terms of change, so that's really normal. Except in his it does highly suggest that the actual release is not going to be so we want to turn it biodiversity. I've seen so of course that was then raised suppose from my point of view, I think if we party councillor and that needs to speak, it is really important as a function, as someone who could go and lots and lots of members of the public to say it's really great place, it's how we want to share its value, we want to spend things like that. So it was also raised that strategic resources by Council Crab, and that's what we said. So now, Council has said that slightly differently split the Council. So now going to strategy resources as a committee decision, whereas before they were very clear it was an officer decision. So that's the one thing. That's the agreement. I'm not on structural resources, but they're.
Oh, yeah.
And so that will be in September. I don't think it's appropriate to advocate for a single person and an individual to have a new lease, but I just think perhaps it would be beneficial. If we have custom clouds, though, to write language saying how much the pollution part is going to mean to me is important to because there'll be a number of options that will come to that committee that will have been prepared by an officer, Sarah John. And, you know, I think it's important that before we assuming that that's what we think is represented. And indeed, if there are any suggestions of how it might be run, some of the options that could even go in. But a letter would be run, obviously, we can't do with those things. But I think that's what if you say.
If the council believes that it is a positive thing, I mean, first of all, do we have anybody against it and wants to push it through? So taking a sort of straw poll, when we say that everybody is in agreement, we want to push it up. Yeah. So I think that's what I'm hearing. So then it's within your sort of term, the council perhaps behind you.
Yeah, well,
Can I refer you for address? I'm on SNR, so I'm not sure if I should be in on this discussion.
you represent Ilfracombe Junior. So, you know, your decision at SNR is based on what your feelings of Ilfracombe. If you choose to vote on it or not, that's no influence within this meeting. So, I think you're fine to stay here. I'm trying to work out how I can do it, because realistically, you're asking me to write on behalf of the council, and I can't because it's not an agenda item.
Make a
So,
recommendation.
no, I cannot make a recommendation. I'm sorry, but that is the law. What I can potentially do is get the public view and write on behalf of the public and not on behalf of the council. But that's gonna mean I'm gonna have to do a very quick mini consultation for the public, because I can't legally make a decision. Sorry, you can't do it.
Councillor, right?
Look, as individuals, you can write it, but I need you, if you are going to write them as councillors, you have to very clearly state that you are writing as an individual councillor and not on behalf of the council. So can I just make that very clear?
Hopefully not a basing that. Good job.
Did we write 18 absolutely identical?
No. Because that means you're asking me to write it, which goes against everything I've literally just said.
Did write one letter.
You can write your own letters.
So that the exact wording arrives there, so that they know what we really mean.
Don't think it would have the gravitas if it wasn't exactly the same letter, George, unfortunately, because that would literally just be.
Threat at the bottom.
We have turn at the first and then down.
Just quickly, when's, I don't know the date next.
Yeah.
September.
After the
6th of September.
Yeah, so Monday.
So it's gonna be before the next full council.
right.
But I can raise, it could potentially be raised as an FNGP.
That's just what I was going to suggest.
Don't.
Yeah, can I just say that an officer said to me that a few years ago, that this was going, we're going to get rid of it, was it worth? You're going to get rid of this when the lease is up, that's what he told me. That's an NDC officer, the reason is, cost more for them to develop it when they get in rent, I think just, when you get £50,000 in rent and they have to mow it, they're like, so they want to bin it and wild it, but I agree with you, we need facilities in this town, I mean, weekly, they're dropping like live, just coming, you know, with. We found around the coast and yes, you go to these different places, Minehead, Newquay, Torquay, with loads of things to do everywhere. We come here and every week there's something less to do, because we've been shut, so I'm quite passionate, it needs to stay as a dog, you know, it needs to stay as a facility. You need things not just to attract tourists, but for the local kids.
No, we did a little straw poll, so I played
For the sake of 100 quid or grand maintenance of mowing, I think they need to just, you know, listen to us and leave it alone, to be honest.
We're trying to catch that, isn't it?
well,
Yeah, it suggests that we, if it's put as a proposal for a vote, if FDP and finance during purposes, it's all tied in with the media features and economic benefit in general things. So,
I would propose that the Ilfracombe Town Council look to take it on if they try and do it. Because they'll get anything that costs them money, and if it's got to be reviewed, there's no big stuff.
There's,
We can do something.
we're meeting in 2 weeks' time. So we take it on and release it to the same time.
We'll read the thing back, you know, we can work like that, but, you know.
okay, I mean, this is basically a chair's discretion, so apparently we don't make a vote, we can't write on behalf of the council at one time, so I would encourage individuals to vent directly, but, so, and via FMGP, and if you want to do a consultation, not so, but
Thank you so much.
I think we might have an extraordinary meeting.
If you request one, you can have one. It's any councillor can request an extraordinary meeting through the chair.
we have one in 5 minutes.
No, because unfortunately you need 3 clear days of what the agenda is and what the business is to transact. So no.
Starting and planning for the next Monday. You add it on to planning, maybe? Yes, no?
Yeah, I mean, you can, yes, but you need to make, for read your standing orders, you need, 2 councillors need to make a formal request through the chair to get an extraordinary meeting. And then I will call it.
Right, well, I'll stick my neck out, but we'll get another one.
I was thinking,
You
But
can.
you have to do it in writing. You have to do it in writing.
Right.
Right, so you do, right there, job done. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's important, so. We can't wait a month. Okay, this is the limitation to the council, they don't care, but you wait a month for it.
I think, yeah, regarding biodiversity, there's no reason why you can't have lovely poppies all around the edge.
Oh, absolutely, yes, yeah.
And there's not
Councillor Early.
diversity around.
Councillor Early.
Sarah, who's the chair of strategy resources, who do we write to?
David Clayton.
Who's that?
Councillor David Clayton.
Right, so we have a strawberry meat by Sam Lynch. There you go. So that's the end of chair's expression. We've got another one. Very good of yours.
Put my. Laura,
It's 34.
if you're doing an email, could you put all the names on one form, or should it go to 2 individuals?
I don't think it does need to be 2 individual. Hang on 2 seconds. Let me.